With spring training in progress, it won't be long before Yankee games are back on the Yes airwaves. Our first broadcast of Grapefruit League action will come your way this coming Thursday, February 27th. That will be your first chance to see Derek Jeter as the road to his final season begins when he and the Yankees take on the Pittsburgh Pirates at 1 p.m. right here from Steinbrenner Field. Another player who you could look for in the lineup that day is Carlos Beltran. At age 36, he's still searching for his first World Series ring. Despite previous appearances in the playoffs, he has never actually appeared in a World Series, but you look at his postseason numbers, they're terrific. This is a guy who's a .333 lifetime hitter in 51 postseason games, and his 16 home runs place him 9th on the all-time list. Joel, this is a guy you know well. You covered him when he played for the Mets. What kind of player do the Yankees have?
I actually think he was underappreciated as a Met. There were some injuries. The team began to tank while he was there, but he's among the handful of best offensive players who've ever played for them. And since the Mets, he left the Mets, a time where I think even the Mets thought he had a bone-on-bone situation in his knees. How much does he have left? Well, his 2 seasons in St. Louis, he was an all-star both seasons. He's one of the finer switch hitters in the history of the game, and he's one of the best postseason players in the history of the game. Even at this age, he turns 37 in April. Carlos Beltran could hit good pitching. It's important for where the Yankees want to go.
Joel is 1,000% right on how he's underappreciated in New York. I mean, for some reason, Met fans never did let go of the fact that he struck out at the end in 2006, that last curveball from Adam Wainwright. I mean, people need to push past that and get over. And again, Joel is also right. You know, for the fears that he had, for the fears that he would break down because of his knees, just never materialized. He had more than 600 plate appearances his last 2 years with the Cardinals. I think it was a good gamble for the Yankees. I mean, I don't know about a third year. He's going to be age 39 in the last season. But for 2 years at least, I think it's a terrific move, and I think he's going to hit a lot of home runs.
I think the third year was what they had to do to get the deal done. I agree with you, Bob. I think they probably would have rather had a 2-year deal. But getting back to what he's been able to do in the postseason, David Cohn said to me after this signing, I got a couple of contracts with the Yankees based on what I did in the postseason. He said, with the Yankees, you can make yourself a very important player by what you accomplish in the postseason. Now, the Yankees have to get there, but once they get there, if they do, Beltran suddenly becomes a guy that you believe in so much because of what he's done before.
The love for Derek Jeter we've seen this week is based in part on what we remember from him. Big moments, homer off of Bobby Jones, the flip play, Mr. November. The Yankees are a team, they've won 27 championships. It's obviously what they're gunning for. I remember when he was a free agent, after the Mets traded him to the Giants, he was a free agent. I remember talking to Yankee people and writing a column where I said, I think what you should do is sign him and trade Nick Swisher. Because Swisher was such a bad postseason player, I thought get some value and bring in someone when you're trying to win the biggest games. You need somebody who can handle those moments. And I think the sample size now is significant enough to say it's not a fluke. Carlos Beltran excels in October.
His home run ratio in the postseason it's insane. I mean, imagine him now in Yankee Stadium, and we know he's not afraid to perform in the postseason. He's got that thing that you can't really quantify, but it's there in him. I think you put him in the right setting, the right ballpark, which Yankee Stadium is, he's going to pay a huge dividend.
Now, Bob, I'm going to ask you to be Joe Girardi for a second. I also think Girardi has to manage Beltran in a certain way. I think this is a guy who you have to watch, and you have to make sure that you give him the appropriate days off. Teixeira said something to me about the way the Cardinals managed Beltran. He said, look at last September. 4 or 5 days were just off days. They were still games that the Cardinals needed to win, but they were giving him off days. How do you think Girardi is going to handle that?
Well, he's got 4 outfielders. I mean, we could spend the entire show talking about how he's going to juggle that. I mean, whether or not you want to play Gardner in left full time. Obviously, Ellsbury's in center. But now you've got Soriano and Beltran probably in a right field DH platoon split. But that also means Derek Jeter's got to play a lot. He's got to stay healthy and really not soak up any more of those DH spots than you can afford to give him. So, I mean, that's a huge dilemma. You're right. Beltran is in the latter stage of his career. This is the last contract he's got. And those knees, while they've been healthy for the last 2 years, you never know. So that is a big problem for the manager.
And just to reemphasize something you said, because it's one of the few areas they have depth, which is they have 4 outfielders, and you'll want those guys playing as much as possible. They certainly want Brett Gardner and Jacoby Ellsbury in the outfield to take some extra base hits away in left and center, especially at Yankee Stadium with the big left field. They want Brett Gardner's glove out there, which means Soriano and Beltran will play the small field and right, hopefully protect them on defense, conserve their bodies. But, Bob, to your point, it means Derek Jeter needs to play a lot of games. So I know you want to DH him some against lefty pitching, but essentially you want those other 4 guys' bats in the lineup every day. That means 125, 130 games at least at shortstop for Jeter. Can he do that? He turns 40 in June, coming off a significant injury. Big deal for the Yankees this year.
Big question. Both Girardi and Cashman have talked about that. Well, while Beltran is trying to get to the postseason,